I want to thank you so much for joining us for 12 Days of Autumn. We are starting today off with highlighting the importance of digital equity. So before I begin, I do want to do a quick welcome, just to thank you all for tuning in, because I know that you all have plenty of things to do on your side. But for more information on me, my name is Michael Ward Jr. I am the president and CEO of Austin Urban Technology Movement, also known as Autumn. And today is 12 Days of Autumn. We are starting day one to promote the digital equity and to promote our petition. So as you can see from the slide, we have several days of events all around promoting digital equity and the importance of providing the skills that our community members need in order to be self-sustaining in today's 21st century. So for today, we'll be starting with a live, just talking about our petition and the importance of it and what that really entails. So before I dive in, I do want to give some quick highlights or some quick facts just around broadband access. So we're talking about the same thing. So here is some information from Connect the Nations. I highly promote Connect the Nations and the work that they're doing. So I want to read some of the stats here just so we're speaking the same language. So roughly 96% of households in Texas have access at 25 downloads up and 3 down, leaving about 330,000 households unserved at the minimum speed considered broadband. Of that, roughly 300,000 of them are in rural Texas. When we think about what this really means, 944,000 Texans do not have access to broadband at home to end school or to attend school, to visit a doctor online, or to work from home. That's like having the entire state of South Dakota not connected to broadband. So when you really think about that, the fact that we have so many individuals here across the state of Texas who don't have access to broadband, that really limits the effectiveness that they have within the community. Whether it's a student who's looking to do online learning, whether it's an adult or somebody looking to do telehealth, or if it's an adult looking to work from home. If you do not have access to quality broadband signal or quality access to devices, now you're going to be left behind in our society. So we've launched our petition in order to really combat some of these trends that we're seeing across the state of Texas. And our petition is the Texas Technology for All petition. So we're demanding Governor Abbott to increase access to the internet, to devices, and upskilling opportunities for those communities that are low income and underrepresented to transition to the tech industry. So what does that mean? Well, so far we've done 1,800 signatures. We've donated 256 computers. We are training currently right now 10 adult learners. We are teaching 200 students on our Autumn Learn application to really promote the importance of digital equity and understanding technology skills in today's society. And what I want to do now is bring different members from the community, different members that support Autumn, to share why they see the value and importance of this petition and the work that we're doing. So right now we have Issa White. So I will hand it off to Issa White to quickly introduce herself before we go through the questions. So Issa.
Hi, everybody. My name is Issa White. I am the program director of Autumn, Austin Urban Technology Movement. I'm excited to be part of this program today, as well as the remaining events for the next 2 weeks. Michael, would you like to go ahead and start with the questions?
Sure. So right off the bat, we could dive right in. So tell me, why is our petition important, right? Why is the Texas Technology for All petition? Why is this important to you?
So the responsibility of my role includes making sure we're bringing on different students, whether they're in their actual educational stage or they're in their career, want to relearn, is bringing them in and making sure they are equipped and well-skilled in different areas of tech so they can go ahead and progress their career in tech. So having this petition fulfilled not only provides education that we need to provide to those individuals, but it also makes sure they have the actual devices and hardware handy, because nowadays everything's virtual and COVID, they need to be able to go home and work at home or have the devices and tablets and tools in order to perform their job at tip-top shape.
So then that leads to our second question. So we understand the importance of the petition, but what does that look like for you outside of your work? Or what does that look like for you and what you're doing on the day to day?
Right. So literally, technology is the backbone of everything now. It's the backbone of education. It's the backbone of your social life. It's the backbone of your community and how we stay informed and advance and up to speed when it comes to what we're doing in technology. So if we didn't have this petition, if we didn't have such forces like Autumn moving in this space, we'll be putting a lot of people at a disadvantage and behind and not staying up to speed because the world is continuously moving.
So have you witnessed any real challenges that a lack of digital equity or a lack of internet kind of provides in our society?
Yes, honestly, I could easily say COVID, but it started before COVID. You had a lot of students who would go to school, and this is in elementary all the way up to college. If they didn't have devices at home, if they didn't have shared devices the schools were able to provide, depending on where their school is and how the funding works in their school, they could barely do their work at home. They would have to rely on all the technology that is at the school or in a library or in a public setting or with some kind of reliable source of Wi-Fi to complete their homework now that everything is moving to the digital platform. So that's a particular challenge, and it was amplified with the advent of COVID, with obviously being more apparent to those who didn't really consider that as an issue. That's the one that touches me the most because it literally impacts my impact and my work and what I do.
And then last but not least, I know we only have you here for a short time before you bring on the next speaker. So the last question I have is just, so what hopes do you have for this petition and for the work that Autumn is doing?
I hope obviously that it's fulfilled. I hope all 3 points, the devices, the job opportunities, and the education is being spread, to the masses on a regular basis, not, in terms of specialty programs, but it should be a standard thing that was offered. So much so that we shouldn't have to, create organizations to go out and do certain, specific work in areas to make sure that, these needs are fulfilled. Like I said, I think that having the position filled would make it a standard and have, provide more equity in terms of the job force and the educational realm.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. So I do thank you so much, Issa, for number one, supporting Autumn and just taking the time out of your day to be a part of this Facebook Live and this conversation. So without further ado, we will bring in the next speaker. So Morgan, are you here? Oh, I may have to let her in. So let me go ahead. Oh, let me ask her to unmute. Perfect. There you go. Hey, Morgan, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can. Beautiful, beautiful. So I know you heard some of the responses from Issa. So please don't copy exactly what she said. Right? I want you to be authentic. I want you to be yourself. So first, please introduce yourself. Let people know, how are you engaged with Autumn? Like, how are you connected to Autumn, and also what you do in your day to day.
Awesome. Thanks for giving me the time, Michael. Thank you, Issa, for kicking us off with a bang. Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan Burgess. In my day-to-day, I'm a product manager for Goldman Sachs, a financial firm. But for Autumn, my heart project, I am the VP or Vice President of Technology. So I get to play in all of the different tools that Autumn uses to create community, to increase access, and to train you all to take the tech industry by storm.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So then let's jump right in. So first question is, what does the Autumn Text Technology for All petition mean to you, Morgan?
Ooh, great question. I'm big on themes, so I'll give you 3.
Okay.
It means visibility first. Visibility into the needs of our community as we adjust to the digital landscape that we're forced into as a result of COVID. It provides accountability, and it means accountability. It means that we have the ability to see who needs things in our community: access to internet, access to hotspots, access to laptops, computers, or cell phones, or internet devices. And we're able to take those numbers in those community locations and hold Governor Abbott accountable. And not just Governor Abbott, but we're also able to hold community organizations like Autumn accountable in love and say, hey, we're here to help you. Here are the people that you need to help. And here are the needs that we have. And it also means access to me. Now that we know who we need to help and we know where to find them, it means that we can increase the likelihood that those who need help will get it. It means to have the opportunity to get computers and devices where they're needed and where they've never been before. And it means a chance for young and seasoned minds to have access to technology that they need to achieve.
I really do like the fact that you said it's also an opportunity for Autumn to be to hold people accountable out of love, and I like that a lot because that's really what we're here for, right? You know, we're here to actually help people solve these issues and create solutions that actually work, because we've been in this space for quite some time, and nothing against anybody, but we need to do things differently to have the impact that we're looking to have. So what does technology, or how does technology impact your day to day? I know you work with Goldman Sachs. I know you also work with us through Autumn. So just in your day to day, how are you leveraging technology, and how does that impact your lifestyle?
Right now, my world is on the other side of a keyboard or a computer screen. I'm being socially distanced and responsible, wink, wink, and I don't meet a lot of people in person anymore. Or don't have the opportunity to do that and respect social distancing. I've been blessed in the fact that my position and my company has gone virtual, meaning that we aren't required to be in the office to get our jobs done. So on a day-to-day, digital equity means the difference between whether or not I can get my job done or not. And in addition to that, it means the difference between the new hiring recruits or the new hiring class that comes into Goldman and their ability to hit the ground running and the capabilities that they have to understand and excel with the technology that we use to make our company work.
So then what challenge have you seen because of a lack of access to the internet, a lack of access to devices, or a lack of training and development for those communities that need it the most?
A lack of digital equity means a lack of connection, a lack of access, a lack of a network. It means that you are cut off and hindered from the outside world. For those of us who, let's say, for instance, are in underprivileged communities who don't have access to transportation consistently, my only way to get a job or my only avenue to gain skills in some of those instances is to have access to digital technology.
I definitely feel that, and I definitely understand that, because as I think about those that are just so far removed from communicating with people the way that we should today, they just get left behind day by day. So I know where we're approaching time here for you, Morgan. So my last question is just, so what hopes do you have for our petition and the work that we're doing?
I'll bring it back to my themes.
Okay.
I hope to accomplish the goal of finding who in the Austin community doesn't have access to internet devices, and not just devices, but who doesn't have access to internet, period. That is going to be the difference between whether or not we can excel in this new digital landscape. I hope that we can accomplish the goal of getting not just the 250 computers that we've already given out to families in the community, but meeting the 15,000 plus members of the Austin community who need access to digital technology. And in addition to that, with that access, I hope that we accomplish our goal as Autumn to give us in the community new skills.
Yeah.
And with those new skills come new access. And with that access comes new networks. And with those networks come greater career paths and opportunities.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I see we got our next speaker. So Morgan, once again, thank you so much for coming and for being a part of this. And I just love the energy, and I love that we're smiling talking about this because we see the fact that we care and this is something that we want to do. So Morgan, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Too. So Clifford, Mr. Dukes, how you doing, sir?
Fantastic, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure's all mine, sir. So before we begin, can you please introduce yourself? Let the community, those that's watching, know who you are and what is it that you do, sir?
Yes, I'm Clifford, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Autumn, which kind of means I'm the glue that helps the organization function and does a little bit for everyone who's involved, including everyone in the community.
Love it, love it. So then, Clifford, I know you heard Issa, you heard Morgan. So then my question to you is going to be the same. So just to start us off, what does our Texas Technology for All petition mean to you, sir?
For me, It's the concrete continuation of the civil rights movement. It means that we don't have two separate systems, one for the privileged and another for the poor. It means we have freedom and fairness, economic empowerment, and like you said earlier, access to jobs, healthcare, education, government services, and really knowledge nowadays. It's all in the ether and on the internet.
Yeah,
Without that, we will fall behind.
yeah, that's well said. That is said very well. So then the next question is, given the work that you do, given how you operate in your day to day, given social distancing, given the life that we're living now, how are you leveraging technology, or how is technology either benefiting you or providing new opportunities for you?
Well, it has changed. COVID has changed, an instantaneous shift in how everyone works. So I'm sitting up here, I'm not in Austin. I'm sitting in New York City. So I work remotely, and that would be impossible for me without the device and without the internet connection. So this is a personal thing. The world has changed, and autumn represents a rapid shift. Because who knows what the plan would have been a year ago, but now we are able to shift and find talent anywhere. We are able to grow, to scale rapidly, if as necessary. So it's a time of excitement. When things are very difficult and they're challenging, there's also an opportunity that's always present. So for us, for what autumn represents, and for what all the work that we all do, the sky is really the limit, and we're manifesting that every day in our work.
Yeah, and I love that. I'm so happy that you are on board, Clifford, because I know that you understand the situation. You fully support it. You understand what needs to be done, and you have witnessed a lot. Just given your background. So then, what are some of the challenges that you've seen that has been created because of the digital gap, because of the skills gap that we see within inside the tech space, because of lack of resources for our communities? What are some of the challenges that you've seen on your side?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is that there's a plethora of jobs in the tech industry. And how can we be prepared for those if we can't even get on the highway, right? So if we can't get into the game with a device and with internet equal, not just internet access, but fast enough to do the things that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like when the interstate highways opened up, we're kind of like that now with the digital space. If we can't get on the highway, we can't move out to other areas, we can't expand our reach, we can't be globally self-sufficient in the ways that we need to be. So for me, if that means stifled innovation, so if we don't provide this access, people will be left behind. Companies won't get formed. New passions and new angles from every community, not just a limited subsection of communities,
Mm-hmm.
won't be represented. And the diversity and the spice and all the things, we don't just want to eat one food every time. We don't, we do things differently. So we want that to be represented on the world stage.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then as I hear you think about, or as I hear you talk about having access and us really being able to have the foundation that we need to actually just to get started, right? To have the foundation to get started and then succeed once we're actually in that industry and inside that space. So what are some of the hopes, or what is one hope that you have for our petition and the work that we're doing here, really across Texas and now across the US?
I can sum it up in 2 words: legislative outcomes. That has been what has kind of propelled our folks forward through trying times. It hasn't been the goodwill. It hasn't been the whim of charity. It hasn't been any of those things. It's been the equal protection of the law. So I would love for autumn to be that catalyst coming out of the state capital of Texas and resonating across the country and across the globe, to be the change that we demand.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And a lot of times, as I talk to people, in my opinion, they hide behind this fear that what we are doing is a political what's the word, is a political issue. This is not a political issue. This is a societal issue, right? This is an issue for our community that can be solved by politics, but it could also be solved by society. It could also be solved by economics. These are just the many ways that we can solve these things. So Clifford, I thank you so much for joining with me. I know we're over time here, so I do want to bring Lindsay. Lindsay, are you here? Your screen may be off and you may be on mute. Lindsay, are you here?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh,
How are
perfect.
you guys doing today? Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you, Lindsay. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you, Michael?
I'm happy to be alive, Lindsay. You know how I am. I'm happy to
That's great.
So I know you saw Issa, you saw Morgan, you saw Clifford, and now you're here. So before we get started, please, if you don't mind, just introduce yourself, let the community know who you are, what do you do with Autumn, and what do you do in your day-to-day?
Yeah, so my name is Lindsay Hackney. I volunteer with Autumn. I'm the secretary. In my work life, I work at PayPal in recruiting area. So that's a little bit about me here at Autumn. I basically kind of just help out. I take notes during the meetings, try to coordinate things and help in any way that I can.
Sure, you've been a little too modest. So what's your position with Autumn? Can you let the community know what's your position with Autumn?
Oh, the secretary. I help out with everything. I'll do a lot of coordinating of things like in the meeting and you know all of that stuff. It's just a lot of I guess administration wise. I handle kind of that side of things.
For sure, Lindsay, make sure that we got our heads wrapped on right. Okay. So thank you so much for your support of Autumn and just being with us. So I know you heard the previous conversation, so I will ask you the same question. So question number one, what does the Texas Technology for All petition mean to you?
It means that we are able to help people in underserved communities get access to the internet, to resources that they don't have, which puts them behind everyone else, really. So it's really important, and we need to get that passed so everybody can have the same access, kind of levels the playing field regarding, you know, everything. It's the way that the world is going. Everything it has to do with technology now. You have a phone, that's technology. You have a TV. Our TVs are smart. So you need that access to be able to have all the equipment and the skills that other people have.
So in the world that we live today, you know, in life of COVID, in life of social distancing, you know, how do you leverage technology today, or how does technology impact your day-to-day and the work that you do?
So every day I am on my cell phone, my computer, my work cell phone, my personal computer, my laptop for work, my iPad, my TV is smart. So I use technology all day. I have a watch, like every day, all day. I'm holding something, doing something, accessing an app, going to a website, downloading something, purchasing something off of a website, paying a bill. So everything that I do in my day-to-day life, I'm either using a device or I'm using the internet or an app or something that involves technology. So, you know, being that it is a part of my everyday life, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm checking my phone wakes me up. So, you know, clearly technology is very important and everybody needs access to it.
So then what would your life look like if you didn't have access to a computer or the internet, or didn't know how to use it?
I would be very much behind my peers. I would have to use a traditional alarm clock to wake up. You know, I have to use a rotary phone, listening to messages. I think everybody that's, you know, my age or maybe even a little younger remembers, you know, calling people if they weren't there. You had to call, you know, you had to call back, especially before caller ID and messaging and stuff like that. It was just, you know, if somebody was home, great. If they weren't, you had to try again. So it really, you know, not having that technology would really limit the things that I'm able to do as far as paying for things, just accessing information, like where do you get your news from? Alexa tells me what's going on, you know, in the world. And if I didn't have that, then, you know, I might not know too much. Facebook gives me information. So I wouldn't have access to as much information as I have now. I'd have to go out and get it physically. I'd have to go to the store and get things and rely on my microwave to tell me the time. So it would really limit what I can do. And of course, work-wise, I couldn't work.
Yeah. And there are so many people whose reality is just that, right? That they don't have access to the things that they need just to be a part of the 21st century that we're living in today. So I know we're over time here. So my last question to you, so what hopes do you have for our petition, the work that we're doing?
Yeah, so my hope is that we're able to get all of the signatures that we need. We're able to make this a reality. Everyone will have access to devices, to internet, and for it to be free for all. Because it's kind of like at this point having a telephone line. It's something that is a necessity. So everybody needs to have access to it and be able to I guess have experience with it. It opens doors. It gives you access to technology. It will give you access to education. So if you don't have the education, you don't know how to use it, then you're behind the curve. Especially involving trying to get a job. So it's very important that everybody has access to basic. It's a basic I guess basic utility now is what it is. Yep.
Definitely agree with that, and I am very confident that by having you on board, that that'll help us get there even sooner. So as always, Lindsay, thank you so much for your service and the work that you're doing with us through Autumn. So I know we have our next person here. So Josh, are you ready to be on camera, sir? There he is. Perfect. Well, Lindsay, have a good one. Thank you so much. Hey, Josh, can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect. It's a little bright in the back, but I can see you fine.
Yeah.
So sir, before we get started, I know you've heard Issa, you heard Morgan, you heard Clifford, you heard Lindsay. So Josh, please tell the community just who you are and what do you do in your day-to-day and how you're a part of Autumn.
Yeah, so my name is Joshua Rowan. I am I'm the Autumn product and software engineer intern. I've been interning here for the last 6 months, since July. And if you checked out the app, I'm the one who's been working on that for quite a bit. And yeah, it's great to be here.
Perfect. And which school do you go to?
Oh, I go to McNeil High School. I'm a sophomore.
Sophomore
Yeah.
in what grade?
10th grade.
There you go, sophomore in high school. Love it. So this is the work that Autumn wants to do, right? To really engage with our communities in various different ways. So Josh, I know you and I have been working on several different things, but just from your perspective, as a high school student, what does our petition, our Texas Technology for All petition mean for you, sir?
Well, I think it means equal opportunity to jobs, to access to internet, access to technology. And obviously, a lot of people don't have access to that. And it really can put people behind in society, whether it's just in this day and age, it's just kind of required to kind of have a place in society.
So then tell me, how has the transition been for you being, in person in school, and then COVID happens, and you're like, wait, no, now we can't be in person and now we have to do virtual learning. So how has that shift been like for you?
It's been a little difficult because I definitely have issues with focusing. It's a lot easier at school, and although I do have a good environment to focus in, there are a lot of distractions, whether it's my laptop or my phone. It can be kind of tempting to pull that out. And also getting used to having all my assignments online. I wouldn't have said this a year ago, but I do miss writing on paper.
It's interesting. I definitely can agree with that. As I've started typing more, you just miss seeing your handwriting, right? You miss having that connection with the work that you're doing. So my next question for you is, given the work that you're doing now through your school, using technology, using your laptop, having online learning, what are some of the challenges that you've seen, or maybe any of your friends have told you that they're experiencing because they don't have the same access that you have, or maybe they don't have the same access to devices? Have you heard or have you seen of any challenges in that area?
Yes, definitely. So For one thing, I know a lot of people that don't have reliable internet, and like that requires them, they get kicked out of class, or like they're like frequently have to rejoin and they just like miss class, or like we're using this thing called Schoology and sometimes it doesn't work. And I also have issues with my assignments for that. Another thing is like printers. Like I have a printer. I'm very fortunate to have one, and I can't imagine how difficult it can be for some of the assignments, including Dan, having to like just look at a screen while doing all of that.
Okay, so quick question, make sure I understand. So the schools require you all to print out all the assignments on top of that?
For some of them actually they do. Like they try to keep it all online, but for some of it you really like have to be able to print it out. And they do like try to help. Like some of our teachers will like try to print it out, and then but they would still like have to like go and pick it up from the school. And it's just like little things like that.
So then, given your perspective, being a high school student, you're planning to go to college. What are some of the hopes that you have for our petition and the work that we're doing?
I hope it won't be an issue as much, or like people really will just like kind of have the same opportunities as me, or like have maybe like a reliable laptop, because a lot of people do have to like borrow one from the school because they just don't have one, or they don't have a working one. And yeah, just little things like that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I once again, as I said to Lindsay, I know that having you on board allows us to get there closer. So as always, Josh, I thank you so much for the support that you have given Autumn and the work that you're doing with us behind the scenes. So Josh, thank you so much. I know we're over time here, so I'm gonna bring up our next guest. So you have a good one, Josh. Hey, Maria, are you there? Can you hear me, Maria?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Maria, it's so good to see you. How are you doing, Maria?
Oh my gosh, you wouldn't imagine the day I've had. Where technology, I've depended so much on technology last couple of hours that have saved my life. So thank you.
Oh, no, for sure. So, but before we get started, Maria, can you please let the community know, just introduce yourself, who you are, what do you do with Autumn, and what do you do in your day-to-day?
So thank you again, Michael, for having me. My name is Maria Campos, and I'm a board member of the Austin Urban Technology Movement. I'm really fortunate to be a board member of this great organization. And but in my day-to-day world or life, I am the regional director for Avance, and I run the Head Start and Early Head Start programs for the Rio Grande Valley region, which encompasses Star, Zapata, and Hidalgo counties.
Mm-hmm. So first, I'm gonna give a quick, plug to NOC. So New Leaders Council is how Maria and I got connected, and because of that, Maria and I we're having a lot of conversations just around digital equity. The time that COVID first hit, early March, and with our conversations back and forth trying to find solutions, the Texas Technology for All petition actually came out of one of those conversations. So I definitely, thank Maria for her viewpoint on the situation and her passion to really assist, Autumn in the work that we're doing to really push this conversation forward. So Maria, the first question is, what does the petition mean to you in your life?
So what it means to me is, and why I'm really working so diligently with you to try to just bring more awareness, is that I feel like there's so many overlapping efforts that encompass the Black and Latino communities, where we can really come together and join efforts and not just bring like local awareness, but like statewide awareness, right? Texas being such a special state in that the geography is so rural, and our communities are often dispersed in so many different areas, where I just feel like technology could really take us to the next level. And then the pandemic, and I feel like that highlighted a lot of disparities that we already knew existed, but just brought them to the forefront. And so I feel like this petition not only brings awareness, but we get, grassroots leaders, grass tops leaders to sign on. And I feel like that will help expand awareness even greater and faster.
For sure, and I couldn't agree even more. So then, what are some of the ways that you're leveraging technology today in the work that you're doing or in your day-to-day?
So in my day-to-day work, the region that I manage is so wide and varied, and like I mentioned, encompasses 3 counties. And so we really rely on technology, especially now that, the majority of our services have moved to a virtual space, and we don't want any of our children or families to miss out on the educational opportunities that many of our urban communities have. And being that the counties that I work are mostly rural areas. And so we really heavily rely on technology every day to make sure that none of our families or children are missing out on all the educational opportunities that they otherwise would be holding space in person.
Yeah, and then that goes to another question. So given the work that you do, what challenges are you seeing? Or like, what's the top 2 challenges that a lack of access to the internet, to devices, to training and development inside the tech space has, created that you've seen?
So the Rio Grande Valley is such a unique region in that, it's majority Latino, 99 to 100% Latino. And then, like I mentioned before, very rural. And then it's also one of the highest, we call them like hotspots. I know like Travis and Bear have recently become hotspots, but the Rio Grande Valley is consistently one of the higher numbers of COVID cases, and that's attributed to a lot of different factors. But as such, we've had to really rely on our virtual space, even as recent as last week, moving more like to 100% virtual. And so that kind of showed us the different needs within our community. A lot of our families still didn't have access to, internet or machines. So we got those into the hands of not only our families, but our staff as well. So that really highlighted the need for us to be just to rely more heavily on technology. Again, not just the actual equipment, but then the wireless connections as well have to be spot on for our families not to miss out on opportunities, and our staff to be able to provide those opportunities.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I know that we're over time here, so I just want to ask you one last question, Maria, because I know you're so passionate about this. What is one of the hopes that you have for our petition and the work that we're doing?
I just really hope that it does become a statewide effort, and in doing so, really connects our Latino and Black communities to opportunities so that we don't fall behind, that being in education, in workforce. I feel like our communities have a lot to contribute and add because we do make up a large number of the communities in Texas. Mm-hmm. So I any of our, especially our young children and their parents, to miss out on opportunities as a result of the pandemic. So I'm hoping that through this petition, we're able to connect families with the resources that they gravely need. And I'm committed to working with you on that.
Well, let's make it happen, Maria. So Maria, as always, it's a pleasure to see you, and thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And we have our next speaker here, so I'll let you get back to your night and have a good one, Maria.
You too. Thanks. Good to see you.
Likewise. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, Waziri. Can you hear me, sir?
Good evening, Michael. How you doing?
Doing well, man. So I know you've seen the list of people come through and just really share, their perspectives on the work that we're doing in our petition. So before we get started, please introduce yourself. Let the people know, who you are, what you do in your day-to-day, and also how are you a part of AUTM. So I hand it off to you, sir.
Absolutely. My name is Waziri Garba. I am the CEO and founder of Harlem Labs. We're a consulting strategic firm that helps folks get to the next peak, or in essence, really build their businesses out and achieve their next project. And I've spent the last 7 years really helping projects and business owners achieve their visions and their dreams, working strategically with them. I'm honored to be a board member of AUTM, and have been for several years now working with the organization to ensure that its mission and vision is executed properly within our community. And that's really bringing the accessibility of technology and its impact and power to an audience that it has not historically engaged with as much. And so it's just a great opportunity to make the future come to life. Having worked with people as great as, the late Tony Hsieh, for example, who really believed in the power and impact of technology in building businesses and really impacting communities with projects such as the Downtown Project, it's evident that progress, wealth creation, education, all of these things are things that will need to leverage these emerging and existing technologies. And so Autumn does a really excellent job of not only raising awareness, but building the bridges that connect people to opportunity, connect people to the education and to the resources needed for the voices and the perspectives technology needs to be brought to the forefront. So, in my business, I see what technology can do for business owners, but even outside of that, realizing what it can do when it's democratized and handed to the people is, that's where the real benefits and gains come from.
So based on the work that you do, and while you and I've been doing a lot of great stuff together, and I thank you so much because you have moved from a colleague to a friend to a brother, to part of the family. So based on the people that you know and the communities that you work with, what are some of the challenges that you've seen because of the digital gap, because of the skills gap, because of lack of access to the internet? What are some of the challenges that you've seen on this side?
In the short term, it's an inefficient model, right? You can do a lot of different things to try to create greater equality, create greater equity. But one of the things is people need to know, people need to be aware. So the digital divide literally is just a veil of ignorance where people are not aware. Information doesn't reach them. Lies and misinformation can abound. I mean, don't get me wrong, digital opens its own whole new wave of issues, but right now in this age, to not be able to go on Google or Wikipedia and sit down and read, what you need to, read and learn is a disadvantage. It's a massive disadvantage, which COVID-19 has pretty much made very clear. But when we think about why we're doing this, it's because of a phenomenon that I like to look at. It's called the lost Einsteins. I just read that water is starting to get priced. Right. So now we're going to be trading water because water is a commodity that's at risk. Right. And once you start pricing it, it gives you an idea, something out of a dystopian future where will we have enough water? Right. What's going to be the price of air? But we're facing challenges as a species that are at Permian extinction type level. Right. There's been a lot of extinctions, but this is one where it's, some say it's anthropomorphic. We need everyone on deck. Yeah. We need the brain power of our colleagues in every state, in every community, in every poor and rich place, thinking about how to solve these challenges. Climate change is you think that there are people out there say, I'm going to solve it. I'm like, that's a really egotistical approach. This is not a one person thing. We need to combine our forces and leverage the right technologies. And most importantly, unlock those people who see differently. So, the lost Einsteins approach is saying, that the person who's going to save us is probably might not look like the traditional leaders, might not think like them, might think differently. And so, I'm not that person, right? I know I'm not smart enough to figure out most things, but if I can, give the assist, if I can throw that phone at that person who later on goes on to crack the theory of relativistic, whatever it is, then we got our job done. We took care of ourselves. We invested where there was a higher yield because there was an unforeseen impact that we felt was there, but which we had no historical reference. So if we wipe away the historical reference and democratize these technologies, I mean, things like what Worley was saying in a call you and I attended on, what can quantum do? These are massive problems, and a new set of eyes and perspective could perhaps give us the tweak that allows us to make that next leap. So that's why this technology needs to be in the hands of more people, because we need to solve these problems together.
I completely agree with that, Waziria. And I like that quote, the lost Einsteins, because there are so many people who just don't have access to what they need just to be interested, right? And the moment you pique someone's interest, now their own experiences, their own background is going to be molded to what they're interested in and what they have access to create and innovate. And right now we're doing a disservice to our people by not allowing them to be innovative because we don't give them the tools to do that. So I know we're over time here and I want to bring in the next guest, but the last question I have for you, sir, is, so with the work that we're doing with our petition, what is your hope for our work and the work that we're doing?
My hope is that more people are made aware that resources and support that we need, and more so the partners. That being not just the people who give, but people who actually gather that this solution is going to require all of us. That's a large part of it, really making that awareness out there and getting those allies so we can take it to the next step. This battle is never going to end, right? There will always be people who will need resources. I think what we're trying to do is get the ball moving significantly, get it rolling significantly, so we can accrete opportunities, we can accrete, we can get that momentum. So when we crash into the problem, it's moved. And so, I think that my objective and hope and vision for us is that not only are people made aware, but people are able to forward this on, inform a friend, utilize the network effect so that the impact, again, is there when we finally face the problem.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's all about less talk and more action. So, Waziri, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for all that you do, sir. So I will let you get back to your day. Tell the family, give the family love for me for sure.
You hear the little one cry, so I gotta go save somebody.
Man.
All right, gentlemen. Donald, good seeing you. Speak soon.
Hello, Donald. Can you hear me, sir?
How are you? Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Good evening, Donald. It's always good to see you, man. Always good to see you.
Now, we are live for real on Facebook?
Yes, we are live for real on Facebook. Yes, sir. I wanted to do YouTube as well, but I messed up on that, so my bad, everybody. But I know that you've heard the several speakers who we had so far, and you're the last one for today. So I would like for you to introduce yourselves, let them know what you do in your day-to-day, and also let them know how you are engaged with AUTM. So I hand it off to you, Donald.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm Donald Scott II. I live here in Pflugerville. I'm extremely passionate about service to the community. As a professional, I'm in information management, more specifically technology consulting, and even more specifically data platform management from a migration to cloud perspective. And so, my day revolves around access to technology. And part of that access to technology also allows me to continue to be active in the community, especially now that we're all primarily virtual and remote.
Mm-hmm. And Donald has been one of our most active volunteers, just with the work that we're doing with our device distributions. You've been supporting us with those. So Donald, thank you for your service. So my first question to you, sir, is if you did not have technology, what would your life look like?
Oh, my specific, I will not be living the life that I live right now without access to technology. Actually, you know what? I wrote a couple notes down, and I was thinking about when we were handing out the computers at the beginning of the fall for students returning to school. At that time, I was thinking that I didn't need access to more devices and that, we would figure it out. But then as we were passing out computers and I was talking with other people, I realized if I was going to teach the kids remote, we actually did not have enough devices at home, right? And I don't consider myself to be on the not accessible side of the digital divide, right? And so, actually the other day, internet went out in the neighborhood and I couldn't work. I sent a couple notes to people and they were able to go into their offices because many of us around here are in some sort of capacity where we can do our jobs from a computer. Mm-hmm. And I was out of work. Luckily, there's flexibility. But if we think about those who may not have similar flexibility, like not having access to transportation and can't get into work, then not having access to technology is potentially disrupting people's ability to work.
So then what does our petition and the work that we're doing to provide an increase of internet access, devices, upskilling opportunities to get inside the tech industry, what does that mean to you, sir?
Yeah, there's a handful of bullet points in there, right? I would say if I start with upskilling, because of the work that I do inside of Avanade as it relates to promotion, not even starting with promotion, recruiting, retention, and promotion, right? Filling up that talent pool with resources who have the skills necessary to even be a part of the conversation is extremely important. And so I'm appreciative to you for the work that you do. And then when we talk about devices or the internet, I think, and I was thinking about these in the questions that you submitted. People were thinking that a cell phone included a device. When we were all talking about, do the children have enough devices? Do we have enough devices when we go virtual? And I think not until, like I said, we were passing out computers and then talking to other people. A cell phone is connected to the internet via cellular technology, not via Wi-Fi, right? And just because you have a cell phone does not mean that your cellular service is any good, let alone whether or not you can actually connect your phone to Wi-Fi, or if you have enough bandwidth or money to pay for what you would need to do school on that device all day. So I think, it's easy to say everyone has a computer and go to a hotspot, or rather everyone has a telephone, go to a hotspot. But even, they were like, oh, you can go sit in your car at the library and do work, or go sit outside of Starbucks and do work. And I tried that, and it's impossible. You know what I mean? So, so for everyone that was saying there's ways around it, there actually are not. And I think people who are saying go sit in a parking lot are probably sitting at home in air condition, thinking that thought. And so it's extremely important, especially as we become more technology bound, right? That everyone have access in some form or fashion to either the education, the components, and then ultimately the internet.
So then that leads to the last question I have for you, Donald. And everything you said, of course, I agree with it. The question that I have is, based on the work that we're doing with this petition, reaching out to Governor Abbott, reaching out to all the organizations that are working on the digital equity or workforce development and education inside the tech space. What are some of the hopes, or what is one hope that you have for this petition and the work that we're doing, sir?
Yeah, I would say one of the things that hopefully the petition brings about is the continued conversation, which it's already doing, right? Because people have to talk about it. But I think that the idea of internet as a utility needs to become more commonplace. I mentioned, when the internet went out, I was kind of lost, and it brings me back to when our lights used to go off at the house, right? Like, if your lights go off, then now it's time for candles. I've lived a decent a life long enough to know what it's like when your hot water goes out, right? When your hot water goes out, now it's time for you to boil water so you can take a bath. Right? There are opportunities available for you to do these things, but when your internet goes out, you're kind of stuck. Right. And then it becomes, okay, do I have a hotspot on my phone? Can I go to my neighbor's house? And I had that feeling when the internet went out of when we used to not have access to some utilities. So I think, there are some experiences where we feel that access to the internet is a luxury, but it no longer is that. These days, you have to have access to the internet in order to move about your life, especially now as we talk about virtual education, right? For all the experiences of seeing people who look like you inside of a volunteer space at school, or being able to do school at all, or even, my coworkers with all their kids at home eating up all the bandwidth, even they have to drop, or their signal might be choppy, right? So we're not just talking about equal access for those who don't have it. We're talking about for the people who actually do have all of the requisite budget to pay for internet and still be having a hard time, right? Because, and I'm probably running into my sixth, but even if I think about when we were, or as Google Fiber rolls out, I don't know what it's doing in Austin these days, but I remember a couple years ago, it was only going to specific communities and neighborhoods, right? And so it wasn't like it was going to the neighborhoods who were most likely to not be able to afford it, which is similar to not giving water and sewage to some of our communities, right? So if you think about it from a utility perspective, as well as how we treat our communities, the internet will continue to grow in its importance, and hopefully people will see that equity is necessary.
I agree with what you're saying. The push to get internet as a utility is a much tougher push. And you and I could talk about that offline. There's a couple of things I've been working on with the city around that piece to really, have that be an option. But overall, I definitely agree with everything you said, Donald, that we live in a society today where this idea of having internet is a want, is not the situation, right? People need to have access to the internet. People need to have devices, and I'm talking about multiple devices, because like you said, having a phone and having a computer are two different things, right? And it's very easy for certain people and for certain entities to speak from a place of privilege versus actually understanding what it's like to lose water, right? Or to lose the internet and not have water. When you mentioned that, I completely thought about my days living in Miami, and it's hurricane season. And now I have no power, no hot water, and I still got to go to school, right? So it's all about thinking about how do we adjust and accommodate people and make sure that we create a good foundation moving forward. So Donald, we're over time here, but I want to say thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being here today, and I'll let you get back to your day, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for the work you're doing. I appreciate it.
Have a good one, sir.
Cheers.
So now I'm going to bring back our program director, Issa White, to help me close out. So Issa, are you here? And if she's not, I'll just go ahead and—
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Good to hear. So then I want to thank you all so much for joining today. I'm going to just I think I have just 2 more slides and I'll wrap up. So I hope this information was valuable. I hope that you felt inspired by the work that we're doing, because this is just the beginning of a long endeavor. So without further ado, I want to share how you can support our petition. So you can sign and share the petition. You can find it on our website, which is www.autmtx.org. You could type in Autumn TX, Austin Urban Technology Movement on Google. We have a pretty good SEO, so you can find us online. You can also donate to the cause. You could donate on our website, and I would also provide a link afterwards in the next slide. But please help us get to the next step, right? Help us get to the next evolution of what this really means to provide a digital equity across the community. So I thank you all so much, and I just welcome you to support us in this fight, because this is a long journey and we have a lot of work to do when we think about Central Texas, when we think about Texas as a whole, and even when we think about North America, right? The work that we're doing here is a movement, and the movement just pushes forward across state lines, across city lines, and who knows, even across the continent. More information on that will be released as we have more information. So if you would like to donate specifically to 12 Days of Autumn, we have a tiny URL right here, which is tinyurl.com/12 Days of Autumn. This is recorded. It'll be on our YouTube page as well. So please just promote and share and reach out to Autumn if you're serious about solving these issues. And then last but not least, I will hand it off to Issa for one more slide.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining in again. We really appreciate you listening in and learning about our petition. We have a gift for you, as promised. Our friends at General Assembly are excited to share a $99 class credit towards any upcoming short form workshop with our 12 Days of Autumn attendees. So that's you guys. Just use the code AUTM 99, that's AUTM 99 at checkout. You can find classes covering design, data, coding, digital marketing, product management, and professional development topics. View the upcoming schedule using that link when you go to generalassembly.com. The code will expire January 1st of 2021. So make sure you sign up before that date. As long as you sign up before that date, you will be able to use the discount code. If you have any questions, we can put a contact email in the information below, but it will be brianna.checkin@ga.com. Thanks, everybody.
And we'll add that to the Facebook comments so you all have that information. And you can always reach out to AUTM. So that's Austin Urban Technology Movement. We're more than welcome to help you. And like I said, please help us, really be a part of this movement and do what's necessary so we can really impact the lives of individuals across the state of Texas and beyond. So please come back for tomorrow. Tomorrow we have another exciting workshop. We'll be focused on resume building. So you can find the information for that on, our website, which is once again, autmtx.org/events. And you'll see the list of all the events that we're doing for 12 Days of Autumn. So thank you all so much for listening and for joining us today. And we look forward to the next event that we have you all. So thank you so much once again. Have a good one, everyone.